Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Man's World podcast, where we dive deep into modern masculinity and the ever evolving dynamics between men and women. I'm your host, Micaiah Tony, and today we've got another great episode lined up for you. We're going to be continuing a topic that often sparks a lot of debate and discussion, and what we covered in our last episode, and that is polygamy. Now, during the last episode, our brothers covered the great benefits of polygamy for both men and women, and today we'll be going over to the dark side to discuss the various challenges that may arise in polygamous relationships. All right, guys, we understand that all of you have experience in polygamy. So, Jaffer, would you like to open up with your initial thoughts regarding the primary challenges?
Yeah, so let me just start by saying, one, I know a lot of the women are gonna probably love this show. They're gonna probably reference it and they're gonna have it bookmarked and saved and have clips taken out and just they're gonna be using this as a lot of ammo against you guys. So our goal here is pretty much to tell you the real deal about polygamy. If you are someone who is considering polygamy and after the show you're still like, yeah, I want to do it, then you're in a good spot because you're probably mentally prepared for it. But I'll start off by saying that it's not what you think it is. Like for most of you guys that are out there that have not experienced it, whether not like growing up in it or knowing people that's knowing people closely that have been involved in it, it's not a movie, right? It's not a fairy tale. Okay. As a man, you have to be prepared for the challenges of polygamy. And there's a lot of different challenges in polygamy. And in general, and we'll cover a lot of the specifics, but one of the things I really want to emphasize for the men is that just like any relationship, whether it's monogamy, whether in anything you're doing, there's going to be phases. There's going to be different stages. There's going to be times that you're going to love polygamy. There's going to be times that you hate it and be regretting, like why did I do this? But just know that you're going if you stick through it and you handle the challenges correctly, overall it's going to be a benefit to you. Again, if you follow the other advice we gave you about selecting the right people and all these different things, but there's a lot of challenges with it. So I'll just leave it with that, with the first challenge. But that's the big goal, is that, or the big message I want to send is that there's going to be different stages of polygamy, and don't tap out without recognizing that you might just be in one of those stages, and it might be better next week and it might be worse the next week. Okay. Because I know when I was growing up or not growing up or whatever, just dealing with people that have been in polygamy situations. And for some reason, I don't know if y'all experienced this, when you talk to somebody that's in polygamy or has been in polygamy, they usually downgrade it, right? They usually just talk about how bad it is, and and to me, it's not, and it didn't seem like it came from a genuine place, like where they're trying to like actually educate you on it. It always came from a place of like, yeah, I'm such a better man than you type of thing, right? Like, yeah, you ain't ready for this. Like you better like, and it's always like, well, you're not really telling me nothing. Like, what do you really deal with? What's it really like? What's the life like? And the best that you get is like, well, you just think about your marriage and all the problems you have and multiply it by 2. And I'm like, that it can't be just that. And then I found out, after going through my own situation, that it's not really that. But there's a lot of things that I was not prepared for. And probably the biggest thing that I wasn't prepared for is that you literally have no time for yourself, right? You have that, and that's like the biggest challenge, that you don't have any time to like focus on yourself, because you're always focusing on one household, the next household, going back and forth, traveling, a lot of different transition stages, and you're just constantly going. For me, it made me a better person. It actually had me focus more and level up my game. So I had a positive effect on me. But I see a lot of people that actually aren't ready for that, and it actually destroys them, not only like the polygamy situation, but can destroy both their marriages. So like, what do you guys think about that?
Actually, definitely agree. I mean, you actually hit on a point that I was going to touch on. So I'm kind of like, I guess I would be like a fledgling in this situation. I'm 2 years in, and you brought up a really good point talking about stages, Jaffer, because man, oh man, I was definitely not prepared. Poor oversight on my part in regards to the time aspect. Just like you said, that is critical. And this has been the strongest test for me. It's not even a financial, it's not even the, there are layers and levels, of course, but the strongest and most formidable position for so far has been the time. You're going back and forth, and you feel like you got to work overtime. And it's not just you working your standard 9 to 5 or what you do for a living. You're working to deal with all of the various different, emotional, ups and downs, this, that, and other. This person not being satisfied. Your children, you're trying to keep your children grounded. You're trying to explain to the children what's going on. They might have their own little thoughts in their mind about what they feel like you did, or based off of some movies or something. And like I said, just the time for me has been crucial because I did not realize the effect that it was going to have on my children. Just taking that time away. It's kind of like you go cold turkey with it. You know what I'm saying? One minute you're doing this, they're used to this routine. They're used to seeing their father every single day, blah blah blah. Next minute, it's cut in half. And I didn't think about how that was going to affect the children. And this is something that, after 2 years, I've been kind of looking into more and trying to see if I can kind of galvanize things and bring the family unit closer, bring them together, blend the children, and allow for that to, that time to be more maximized. So,
Yeah.
good thing.
Oh, subhanallah. Okay, so um, I would say I want to take this from a kind of a systematic approach. I want to deal with the women first because, and for the Muslims in polygyny, if you're going to get into polygyny, the man is already going to be married, okay, and the woman is going to be she's going to be making the decision. Most men think, okay, they like, yeah, I'll get married again, yeah, I'll marry another woman, but the woman is really making the decision to get into the situation. And so, the for the women, you have to understand that for the most part, the men that are going to have the opportunity to marry an additional wife, take on a second wife or third wife or whatever, this is going to be a man most likely in whatever group or area that he's in. He's one of the top men available. That's why he's going to get more than one. Some men might be around there that don't have a wife at all. So you're choosing him over other men, most likely, in a lot of cases. So this man is going to be better than average, right? So he's going to be a better than average man. He's going to have a better than average wife. He's going to have a better than average situation in the perfect scenario. So in the perfect scenario where you're coming into polygyny, you're going to be dealing with a man who probably has a good wife. So what you have to realize is that most likely, if that man has a good wife who he's happy with, he's not getting married because he doesn't like her. He's happy with, most likely. And usually people get married again. It's usually after about 8 to 12 years of marriage. A lot of times, what I've noticed, usually if a person gets married within those first 5 years, they usually don't get married again, most likely. So what you're going to be dealing with is a strong relationship between two people with a good man and a good woman, most likely children, and a functioning, happy home. To have to compete with that woman and that environment and that happy home is going to be almost impossible for you to duplicate and replicate the comfort, the environment, and that relationship and that love and commitment between that husband and that wife who have been together. This is in a situation where you don't have a disaster going on. You have a good man with a good situation and you want parts. You are not going to be able to pull even with or get ahead of that woman in his mind and in his heart. It's going to be very, very hard to do. And so a lot of times women come in thinking everything is going to be equal, it's going to be fair or whatever. And the biggest complaint that we get a lot of times from women who are talking about being in polygamy or from our own wives or whatever is that I feel like you love her more than me. Yeah, we can't say that, but the answer is yes. Look at the time. Look at what's going on. Look what's been there. So you have to look at that. That's one thing that you have to understand as the women coming in, and I'm particularly talking to the women. You have to understand that, and knowing that you have to be able to put your feelings not aside, but you have to adjust them a little bit, knowing that that's the situation. And now, say you married to a man who he's not happy with his wife, and this is the second level. He's not necessarily happy with his wife, and that's why he's getting another one. Because every woman thinks that, okay, he's not happy with his wife, that's why he's getting another one. No, sometimes it's perfectly fine, but there's other reasons. So if you marry a man who you know or you can tell he's not happy with her, and maybe he doesn't even want to be with her, but he has to be with her due to, other reasons, you are going to have an adversary that will be working against you. This is the reality of it. It happens regularly where the man, he's not happy with his wife, he marries another wife, and then maybe he's happy with her. You're going to have an adversary in her who's whether you know it, maybe she's in your face talking, smiling or whatever, fishing for information, and then working behind your back. This is something that is, I'm sorry, it happens. And this is something that you have to realize. If he's not happy with her, you think you're just going to come in and she's going to be happy with you or happy that you're there? I mean, if he's not happy with her and she's still there, I mean, this is a situation that will be volatile. So to come in thinking, okay, well, I'm going to be Miss Wonderful or whatever, and all of a sudden you're blindsided by the fact that someone else is sabotaging you, you should be ready for that. I'm not saying be ready for a fight, but understand that this is an aspect that, especially in Western countries, it might happen otherwise, but we live here and I deal with this a lot, and I see it that it happens a lot. So not only will you possibly have an adversary in your co-wife, you also will have that co-wife, the first wife or the wife that's there that you're coming in to become a co-wife with. Her children will also be on her side. They may then be adversarial towards you, her friends, her family, maybe, the people around. So these are aspects that can take place and they can happen to where usually the men should be honest with the situation, but sometimes they don't they don't say how volatile the situation might actually be. And then once you get in here, you're like, man, you have all types of stuff going on, I mean, in this family, and now you're just literally just trying to keep your head above water. You got someone who hates you or someone who's adversarial against you when you don't even know them. And a lot of times the co-wife coming in, she knows the man's already married, so she has a very attitude and outlook, and she's ready to work together and be cooperative, and she really has the idea in her mind that she's going to have a friend, and they're going to do help their husband become great and the family become great and everything. And a lot of times that does happen, but if we're naive about it and realize that the other scenario can happen, and you really have to be ready for that. It's common, I'll say that. So every situation is not like that. That's something that happens. Now, Hussein hit on it, but if that okay, when you marry that man, if that father that you married is active in his children's life, and he spends a lot of time, you have to realize that you will be directly removing time from them, and he'll be giving it to you. Unless you help him to save time somewhere else, he's going to be taking time from his children. It's not always necessarily the other wife or wives that are really reducing their time. They're gonna get their time. They're gonna make sure and be clocking that time to get their time. But a lot of times the children are not the ones who are going to be, really. They're the ones who fall through the cracks sometimes when you have that pulling of time, and I need my time, I want my time, and then the children fall through. So that happens. So you have to think about that. You're going to be taking children away from their father in some instances. Now, there's workarounds for this. I'm just telling you some of the negative aspects that can and will arise. Last thing is, once that newness wears off, once all the intimacy and you do all this and that and other, and and you get to a level where, okay, everything is normal, there's no newness, then that man comes to a realization: do I actually even need this person? Do I need this person in my life? I'm sorry, but this is what happens. A lot of men choose to get a second wife because they see her, they like her, and they want to be with her intimately. And they make the decision based off of that. Now, we have said, I think we've been very clear in this show, that is the wrong thing to do. But niggas fall for it. Men fall for it every day. They fall for it every single day.
Yeah, I think majority of men are going to go into a situation, a polygamous situation, just like you said, Mubarak. That's they're going to lead in with that. Yeah. And then they're just going to be like, okay, I'll clean up everything else on the back end.
They make excuses for the things that may not fit, and they say, well, we'll work it out, or they try to make the woman into something that she's not. She's a pretty face, she's a nice body, she's a whatever, but she may not be someone that fits in your family, in your system, in your environment that well. Now, a lot of times, the women will say, yeah, I can do this, I can do that, yeah, I'll do that, but it's really not them. That's not how they roll, but they want the man. Maybe they're looking at it the same way. They see him, he's tall, he's dark, he's handsome, or whatever it is they like.
If we shrink it down, like I said, for the man, we're going to be looking at the woman, finding her attractive, yada, 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 and want some intimacy. The woman, if we shrink her situation down, yeah, she might find him tall, handsome, dark, but ultimately she wants that security and that protection that she knows that man is a qualifier and has been able to provide. Both of these situations on both ends, the man's coming in, he's like, sex and woo-wop, and everything follows. The woman's coming in, money, woo-wop, everything follows. And they both kind of like get tangled up, exactly how like you're saying, because the woman is leading in with that, and then she's trying to make it make sense in her brain. Well, this, that, other. The man does the same exact thing, and we spoke about this. Both of those are incorrect. Now, of course, hindsight is 20/20, so it's not like, you know what I mean? When you get into a situation and you kind of learn it on the fly, it is what it is. But if you have experience with these type of situations, so just to be clear, Mubarak, you would be the most experienced with these type of situations.
I hear what your brothers are saying, but those reasons sound like regular reasons to get married in monogamy. Like if a woman is seeking protection and then a man is.
Well, the thing is, the woman's reason for getting in polygyny, it's fine for her to have the same reasons why she gets into polygyny that she gets in for monogamy. It is not okay or not wise for a man to have the same reasons to get into polygamy that he got into monogamy. Because like we talk about this all the time. If a man's getting into a polygynous situation for, quite frankly, sex, he's an idiot. It's the dumbest reason to get a second wife ever. And you don't realize that until after you're actually in the situation. Now, if you're a rare person you're just flux with cash, flux with time, like, you just have the best situation in the world. Okay, you that mistake is going to be covered up by that you could just buy everybody's happiness or something like that, right? But again, that honeymoon period is going to wear off. It's going to stop, and it's going to wear off faster than your first honeymoon period wore off. So you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if I can just say this real quick on this point that I was talking about, as far as that honeymoon period, when that honeymoon period wears off, the thing is, if you're dealing with a man who's practical, he's surgical, he's sensible. Maybe he lost his senses a little bit when he just recklessly raged out and got married again. But when he starts to realize, okay,
he sobers up.
Yeah, when he sobers up, then if that second wife is not able to, outside of the bedroom, had nothing to do with intimacy, if they're not able to provide some sort of benefit for him, the family, or something that rationalizes the cost, whether it's money or the time or the subtraction of his children or his other wife, maybe he likes her a lot. If he cannot rationalize it and balance it, if the time gets constricted where he doesn't have as much time anymore, or his money gets constricted where he doesn't have as much money anymore, the first one to go is going to be the last wife in, will be the first one out. And that's just like, because if you just look on average with the time and ability, unless somehow you've been able to benefit him and make his environment better than the first wife, then maybe the first wife might go. But if he can't afford 2 wives, most likely the woman coming in is going to be the first one out. It's going to be easier for him to let her go. He's going to be easier to do that. So I'm talking about from the woman's perspective. You have to think about that. If I'm not moving the needle, if I'm not needed here, that's what I say. That's what do we say? If you're not dependable, you are expendable. So if he's not dependent on you, it's like, man, Fulana number 2 is here and I need her. She does this, she does that. I mean, we need her here. She's taking care of all this business. If she's gone, who's going to do XYZ 1, 2, 3, right? So when Fulana is just somewhere, just waiting around to just, you do butterfly kisses every once in a while, and that's just what she does, and thinking, wow, I'm just ready for this. That's going to wear off. Sometimes it wears off very quickly. And then I'm telling you, this is what so many women fail to realize. If you're not making a beneficial impact, I don't want to sound harsh, but really the women have to think about like this. Sex is actually irrelevant to men. Men they will, and listen, just follow me here. I know this is an extreme example, but lots of men, not all, some, but lots of men, when they go to jail, what happens? They go to jail straight as an arrow. And then for whatever reason, other men start looking good to them. That's not something, but that's just a phenomenon that happens in jail. Whether they look good or not, they just like whatever's available. What I'm saying is that sometimes men will be intimate with whatever is available. So it doesn't matter that much. I mean, you got people doing this with sheeps and goats or whatever, or by themselves or whatever. So women cannot put so much stock in the fact that, okay, he's being intimate with me, so that means he needs me. No, it's because you're there. It's because you're there. But if you weren't there, someone else would be, or if he was someone else, he'd be doing it with someone else. So the benefit has to be something more than that. Otherwise, and this is the danger, is that if it's not more than that, a lot of times that's when the marriage breaks down, falls apart, or he decides you're not worth the extra money, or whatever. But if you can move the needle in those other areas, then you got a chance. But if he doesn't have that expendable time, as soon as his time goes down, as soon as his money goes down.
Bottom line, women have to understand that there is a level of competition that they must participate in. There's a level of competition. You have to compete on some levels, you feel what I'm saying, to be able to keep and retain your position. If you're just, like you said, you're just laying to the side, or you think you're some little cutie pie and the sex is just going to work. No, you got to be able to compete in some various different areas to make sure that you are not falling in the category of a liability versus an asset, and sex, unfortunately, and again, this is going to be a hard one for women to get around, because they see the world and they see how men put so much emphasis on sex. So when they get into situations, and depending on there's levels, varying different levels. If you're a younger man, if you're an older man, a little bit more seasoned, sex is not going to be as high as a woman would think to rate it or rank it, and there's going to be more that she's going to need to put in there. You know what I'm saying? And for whatever reasons, women, they with my experience, they don't think like that. They just put a lot of emphasis on looking cute, trying to have some sex here and there. They might make you a raggedy pasta meal every now and then or whatever like this. And this is like, no, you gotta be able to, you know what I mean? But they just, for whatever reason,
I want to push back a little bit on this idea, because this is the Man's World show and we're giving advice to men, right? And I don't want the men to think. So I don't like the idea. Like, yes, women, if you're getting into a polygamy situation, you should try to be the best wife you could be, right? But I do not like the idea of telling women, like especially the second one coming in, that it's like on them to like prove their station or their that they should be there. Because to me, after the man decided I'm going to marry you, and he made that person his wife, now both wives are entirely equal. So now it can't be like, okay, like you said, like last one in, first one out, right? That type of mindset. To me, that's totally wrong. Because what that does is it puts a lot of power into the first wife's hands to basically just push out any newcomer, right? Because
be realistic. Hold on, Joshua. Be realistic. I understand where you're going, and of course, all things equal. Yes, the woman should be equal. Blah blah blah. But let's be realistic and let's act like we're actual humans for a second. If that woman comes in and you love this woman over here, you've had 10 years, a bunch of kids, you love her. She comes in and you're saying equal.
Yep.
Are you going to love her the same as you love this one?
What does love have to do with it? What does love have to do with it?
Are you going to care about her? We can do the words in that.
What does care have to do with it?
Are you going to
no, I think like what Jaffer means is you can't always look at the incoming wives, subsequent wives, like at the bottom. Like you can't.
There's going to be work regardless, is what I'm basically saying.
Yeah, I agree.
No one's I agree with go to equal.
I agree with both of you.
Even though it's supposed to be like
no, they are an equal playing field. They actually are an equal playing field. As soon as you say I agree, they are an equal playing field. Like your heart might incline towards one. You might have more investment or more resources, more children with another one or whatever.
Let's talk about the heart. Tell me about the heart. Are you going to make your heart have an equal?
The heart has nothing. No. As men, we tell men to make logical, rational decisions.
Yes.
And we have to make decisions not based off our heart. Now, if we're telling men to act like women and base your decisions off of your heart, then we're going down the wrong road.
Well, what do we agree on? What do we first initially agree on? Most men get into situations, they get fogged up, and they go into a situation for sex and intimacy.
And they ain't thinking with their heart. They ain't thinking with their heart.
So, it doesn't matter.
But listen, okay.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying this is about. And Jaffer, you always come with the textbook correct answer. If we were taking a test from the polygyny textbook, you would make 100, and I probably would fail the test. But in the real world, in the real life, I'm telling you, it's just like this. If you've ever had 2 wives, 3 wives, 4 wives, or whatever, and all of us know the drill, you don't got to answer. But if all your wives was drowning, you could only save one of them. You know which one you're going to save.
Yeah. You save the one that poked the most holes in the boat, or the least holes in the boat. That's the one you save.
Yeah, maybe.
The problem.
Okay,
here's the problem, yeah. Right? Here's the problem if you go down that road, right? You have all your wives are drowning. And let's be real. We're talking about real life. Who's usually the wife that causes the most problems?
Hey,
the first wife.
Hey, you don't do any variables in there.
Bro, no. There's always the first. It's 90% of the time, it's the first wife that causes the most problems. So now you're setting men up to have a mindset that now if they're married and their wife starts creating so much problems, right, in a polygamy situation where he's like, I don't want to do this anymore, somebody has to go. Well, it's easier to just get rid of the second one. Even though I'm the one who put everybody in this situation, I'm the one that made the bad decision. I'm the one responsible. But you know what? I'm going to reward the criminal in this situation. No, get rid of the first one. Bye-bye. See you later.
Okay, let me say this because this is the thing. I'm not saying that this is correct. I'm warning and I'm trying to educate the women on the reality of what happened. If, for instance, Zaid loses his job, he was making 125 a year. Now he's making 75. He could do it. He could have 2 homes easily. Now he says, "Listen, I'm only making 75. I'm about to move y'all in together. You take upstairs, you take downstairs."
Mm-hmm.
They say, no, I'm not living with her. I ain't living with her. Well, I can't afford this other house. So, well, I'm not doing it. Well, I'm not doing it. All right. Now he's going to look at the one he loves more, the one he likes more, the one who gets the most benefit, maybe the one who has more children. These are all things that do factor in to a man's decision, whether he is doing this for the correct reasons, for a logical reason, or just because he got fed up.
So you're talking about it more of a warning towards women, not as a recommendation for men.
Yeah, no. This is not a recommendation. What I'm saying, my warning to women is that this happens. They get tired, or they lose money, or they don't have the time anymore. Then after that, they start to cut costs here, there, whatever. And the biggest cost the man is going to have is another wife. So for the women, you can't be naive and fall asleep at the wheel. If you do get in a situation, know that this is a possibility, and I have to quickly level myself up, try to make sure that he needs me.
That's what I was talking about. Hold on. That's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about when I was talking about competing. I'm not talking about, oh, she got to come in, but just like what you just said, Mubarak, make sure that your position, you have staying power. Make sure that you develop yourself to have some staying power, because again, I try to be a black and white type of dude, try to be rational when I come to my thoughts. I'm not going to pretend like, oh, even though all things are fair and even and all this other stuff that we know it's supposed to happen, we are human beings. And if we make the initial mistake of going in, just thinking with our private area or what we want to do, that's going to create a big, big situation. And then we're going to be dealing with it on the other end. So majority of men go and do that. So we're trying to warn men to make sure you make a more rational, practical decision. And don't go in like that with just thinking, oh my God, this woman's attractive, and then you start convincing your mind, oh, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that, blah, 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 blah. And for the woman too, like you said, Mubarak, don't come in expecting that you just wave some flowers around every now and then, poke a couple kisses, and that will satiate that man, because once that wears off, he's going to be looking, and like you said, Jaffer, there's levels, there's stages. If he's at the stage where he's feeling that weight and that pressure, and he's looking to trim some fat real quick, who you think getting trimmed first? Who you think getting trimmed first?
Yeah.
And these are just reality.
It depends on what type of man it is. But like Mubarak said, a lot of men do take the easy route. They follow up one bad decision by another bad decision by another bad decision, because they're just taking the easy road all the way out. And guess what? They usually end up in a worse position.
But as human beings, what are most of us going to do? Choose the path of least resistance. I'm not sitting here saying that it's correct. I'm saying that this is typically.
As long as we agree, it's not correct.
I'm not.
It's the reality.
As long as we agree, it's not correct.
This is the reality.
Yeah, brothers. I actually agree with every single one of you. But just like from a woman's perspective, like, yes, it is an error on men, because sometimes no matter how much value like a woman coming in could think that she provides or something like that, still again, it's not always you're just, you're just good for sex or, just to get away from the other family. No, like sometimes if she is bringing value, then she is still going to get cut off. And it's something that, I don't agree with looking at incoming wives as always having like a lesser status, because it kind of disrupts or is detrimental to the harmony and balance of the family unit when, that person who wants to bring in value or wants to be in this situation is feeling undervalued. So, but yeah, I just wanted to just add
it's a big mistake that a lot of men make. A lot of men and women, I mean, women do it too, with this idea, and I don't know where it comes from, whether it's culture, whether it's movies or something, where like the second, third, whatever, whoever's lower on the numbers, whoever's the last one coming in is somehow beneath or lower in status than the ones that came before. And there's these ideas that reinforce that, like, oh, you're supposed to come in and buy her gifts and buy her flowers and be totally almost like a servant to like the ones that were there first. And it sets up this environment that it's
we know
a very bad environment.
that's not correct. We do know that is incorrect. I'm just talking about as human beings. We're having a real conversation.
Mhm.
So I'm putting it on the table. These are real things that happen in real life.
Right.
And it just forces the human being on both sides, the man and the woman. You got to level yourself up. Even me, I have to, if I'm in a situation like that, I can't go and pass the blame over here. Of course, naturally, sometimes we tend to do that. But it all boils back down to you. You got to level yourself up. The second wife coming in, level herself up. Y'all have to level up and get to a point, get to a position where things are going to be able to work and flow, a little bit more streamlined. Of course, nothing's always going to be streamlined, but we're shooting straight here. We're shooting straight, and we're just going to tell everyone how it is because we have the XP, some vary at different levels, you know what I'm saying? Some, are gurus. And they got all this XP. I'm just going to say this thing to touch on what Jaffer said initially. So we all have experience with polygyny, and we know that our fathers come from a polygamous background as well. So a lot of times when I was younger, I would inquire about, the various different aspects, and I would always get, from some of the older brothers, our old heads, or our uncles, alleged uncles, I used to be in polygamy. I used to have 3 wives. And the word would always be used. I used to have it. And I'm just thinking, I'm thinking in my mind, used to, which means obviously you felt, so
that's a good point. That's so true. It's always used to. I know so many brothers like, or they dudes that are siblings or whatever, and it's like, he used to be married to my homie. We used to be
but they think in their mind, just like you were saying, Jaffer, they think that they're giving you some wisdom. They dropping some gems. You're looking at them like, because
let me tell you a quick story. One of these brothers that was in polygamy, and he thought he was dropping knowledge. He came back telling everybody. It was like right after the joint. He's like, "Yeah, man, it's hard on the first wife. You know what I'm saying, right?" And so he says, we got married again, and came back from the honeymoon and came back to the house, and I know how she's feeling, so I went and made her a sandwich. You know what I'm saying? And that was the end of the story. We was all sitting there like, this is your game, bro? This is your deep polygamy? You made your wife a sandwich, an egg sandwich. Because she was feeling so hurt and all that. So I made her a sandwich.
And I'm not, and I honestly, I hope I didn't come across as making it seem like the second wife or whatever wife comes in last is like, all right, you just last on the totem pole and you're a second class citizen. No, I'm just trying to give it the reality from the wife's point of view to what you could possibly be dealing with. I've experienced this stuff in my own life where things change and I'm like, man, you know what I mean? If I gotta downsize this situation, or if I gotta make some adjustments, I mean, I can't keep you around. Like, it's not because, you just have, but that's the thought. Sometimes you never have to say it or never have to make it. But it's like, man, if this joint don't work, or if I got to leave this job, or if I got to go here, I know these two can't get along or whatever it might be. I've seen this situation where I said, where a wife is being all friendly and nice and everything to a co-wife. And I'm like, so-and-so said, I'm like, so-and-so's not your friend. You have to be careful. I mean, you can treat them like more like a neighbor, but you have to be careful because right now it's a sensitive time. They're really just, it's about trying to get a leg up on you. But the second wife, a lot of times they have this romanticized version because sometimes we tell them, they see this version of us. They see the man that they want and they see the situation and the life that he has. And they said, it's going to be the same for me. But getting on the ground in the situation, there's lots of stuff that you have to deal with. So they're coming in thinking, okay, I'm fully down and committed to sharing my husband with this other man. Well, the woman on the other side who's already there may have completely different idea, regardless of what she says to her husband or what she says to you. She's maybe playing this game. And then all of a sudden it's like, And what I've seen happen in my life, and this is why I have so much experience with this, is that once they realize that it ain't all rainbows. No, she actually doesn't like me. She actually was using me, or whatever it might be. They're so heartbroken that sometimes they can't even function anymore. I've seen it where they cannot function in a polygamous situation because they say nothing is real. Everybody's just, it's like a soap opera. It's like, no, I'm trying to tell you, you have to come in and you have to be careful. You can't be naive and just dive all in and like, okay, and just be so naive. And then you run right into a brick wall and you realize, okay, well, I mean, wow. This lady doesn't even want me to drive by the house. It's like, yeah, sometimes they get like that, but then but if you know what to expect, you can prepare yourself. It's just like if someone says, I'm going to punch you in the stomach. If you flex up, you can take a hard punch.
Yeah.
But if you don't know it's coming, you're going to be wiped out. You're going to be on the floor in the fetal position. And this is what happens to some of these girls.
Mm. Yeah, and that's a good point.
A lot of men have to prepare themselves for the changes that their first wife or their first wives will go through, right? Especially the hardest situation you can encounter is basically going from 1 to 2. Okay. Yeah. Because that first wife, and it could even be like, you could have all the different like green lights in the situation as you want, like, oh, her father and mother, she's a children of polygamy. She was even like, you could go all these different things, but once they're the first, their mindset changes, right? It changes. Like basically, you as a man, they're looking at you as your, like we talk about men looking at as women's property. No.
Oh yeah.
The first wife looks at her husband as that is my property.
Oh my God.
That's mine. I own everything about it.
Like right? don't wear this. Don't wear. Listen, it's your jacket. It's your hoodie. Don't let somebody else be wearing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Why is she wearing your hoodie?
I got a counter question to ask you, brothers, because I've been curious about this. So if you have a not so good relationship and you go and you get a second wife, right? That first wife versus if you have a good relationship and you go get a second wife, which one of the first wives you think is more justified to act up?
Neither one.
No, I'm saying I know that. I'm saying like which one, because they're both, we were talking about this. They're both going to have positions. So if you have a first wife and you tell her she knows you love her, you guys doing a pillow talk, blah blah blah. Then out of nowhere, you hit her with a curveball. You know what I'm saying, a gut shot, and you go and you pursue another wife. Now, irregardless if you communicated to her or not, because I see a lot of brothers do this too. They would go and just get a wife. They have a decent wife, but they would just go and get another wife and will not tell the first wife. So she's crushed and devastated. But then if you go and tell the first wife, she's crushed and devastated. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, so from the woman, go ahead. I don't know if I can articulate that correctly.
It's coming from a person. Listen, it's coming from a person from me. I never told a woman ever in my life that it's just me and you. I never said that. And they still will react in a similar way to the person who says, I'll never get another wife. I could never even look at another woman. Sometimes it happens. They just react the same way, So
which person do you think, which wife do you think has the position to act out? Like they're going to act out, but which one you think is favored a little bit? The wife who was kind of nutty and you was like, I'm about to go get another wife, and then she feels kicked to the curb, or the woman who let's be real, as men, if we have one wife and we place her on this high pedestal, we might not even have an idea to get married again. But then along comes poly, and then we change our course, or we go into a different direction. Now we get this wife and she still feels like she's up here, but you got another wife, and naturally she's going to feel like she's been replaced. And to your point, Jaffer, it ain't gonna matter what we talking about is legal, what we talking about is equitable, what we talking about is fair, what we talking about equality. None of that means anything. She's going to feel like she's being replaced.
Yeah, I don't think either one has any justification to act up whatsoever, right? Whatever your position is.
That's from our perspective, and a lot of times women.
Yeah, I don't care about their perspective. It's wrong. right? It's who's more justified to commit murder, the good guy or the bad guy? No, it's still murder. You killed somebody unjustly. They're both acting out, right, wrongly, because the man. This is the problem. This is the problem I have with all of our perspectives. As men and as women, we have, whether we want to recognize it or not, and I have to catch myself in a lot of different conversations we have surrounding polygamy. We have ingrained in us a negative perception of polygamy. Even that discussion of like, who's more justified, the wife that was, had a good relationship or the wife that had a bad relationship? Neither one is justified. If he wants to get another wife, for whatever reason he wants to get another wife, even if we say he just wants to have sex with this person, it's not a smart move, but he's totally justified, and neither wife has the right to go act up. They have a right to feel jealous. They have a right to go through whatever emotions they're going through. But they don't have a right to act out.
I agree with that. I'm just talking about, again, we're boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. What you're saying is accurate. What you're saying is true. What you're saying is accurate. But that ain't about to stop nobody from feeling the way they feel.
You're putting in the context of, why are you asking then who is more justified?
So basically, it was just kind of like an off question, because we were talking about that, and we know if a man's like, he's fed up with his wife, I'm about to go get another wife, blah blah blah. And a lot of times he's just done with the first wife. There's many situations like that, and she is about to scorch earth. Now, what is not necessarily always talked about is the good wife scorching earth. Like you had made the comparison, you're going to reward the good wife's bad behavior. This is a problem and a pitfall that a lot of men fall into, and they're feeling like no matter what you say, they feel like they have been replaced with a new shiny object, and you cannot.
Let me.
The bad wife.
Let me. There's one problem with the statement that you made, and I mean, I'm sorry to say, but it's just the truth. When you said, "What about the good?" What about what you just said? Where you talking about? What about the good wife who scorches earth? A good wife ain't gonna scorch earth like that. Now she may be upset with you or whatever, but a good wife, a good wife, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad wife, but a wife who is in the upper echelon, she should have a certain amount of composure. Maybe she gets very emotional with you, but scorched earth, as far as destroying and sabotaging and harming other people, that's what scorched earth comes to mind. Is like, she's disrupting stuff. She's at the wedding trying to stop the joint. She's doing stuff to disrupt the marriage, stop the ceremony, or like going to people and trying to tell them bad stuff about you to get you to call off the wedding. This is what comes to mind with scorched earth, because I've seen people, they say they want their husband to be the only husband so much they will expose, all his crimes and talk about his debt and everything. People even say, and not me. This is not me. Don't. But there's sometimes some women will say, oh, and he has an STD, just different stuff to try to get the person not to marry him. This is what comes to mind, scorched earth. A good woman is not going to do that type of stuff.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
But let's be clear too. So this is what men have to really pay attention to, right? Because a man can think that he has like a 9 out of 10 wife in monogamy, right? You know how we say you don't know a person till you travel with them, live with them, eat with them, fight with them. Like, it's different. You're going to know somebody. You don't know your wife until she's in polygamy. You don't really know her. You don't know her.
Put that on the t-shirt. Put that on the t-shirt. That is one of the greatest statements. I mean, that is a bar for sure. You really don't know.
I remember this, and I will never forget it, because basically I was talking to someone. They're still in the cult, but we still had a decent relationship, and I was telling him that I was about to get into polygamy, and he looked at me. He was like, he was kind of shocked, and then he was like, "I'm gonna give you bars." He was like, "I'm gonna give you the best advice." He's like, "Hussein, your first wife, just like what you just said, Jaffer. He's like, your first wife. He said, you're going to see a side of her you've never seen before." Mm-hmm. Never seen. And it goes back, it's right in line with what you just said. You know what I'm saying? Because none of us, truthfully, as human beings, none of us know our biggest levels. We're constantly climbing that mountain. We're on this ever never-ending pursuit of whatever, just climbing this mountain, trying to be the best Muslims, trying to be the best men, trying to be the best husbands we can be. Man, the buck stops at polygyny for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? It just stops right there, and then you gotta really reflect, do some self-reflecting, and get back. You're going to get knocked off your horse. The woman's going to get knocked off her horse, the first wife. And this is something I tell my wife. I'm like, we got to get back up, get back on our horse, pick our shield, pick our sword back up, get going down this road here. And like I said, it's just a wild battle.
It's a good thing for a man. Like what he could do is, whatever you out of 10, whatever you score your wife in monogamy, right? Before you get into polygamy, ask yourself: are you okay with your wife's score getting cut in half? If she's an 8, are you prepared for her dropping to a 4? Are you okay with that? Right? And it's a good test. And if you're okay with that, and you can deal with it until she can work her way back up into, whatever.
But I will say this based on experience. I'm talking about based on experience, bro. Sometimes the wife who might be a 4 or 5, you put them in a polygamous situation, all of a sudden they jump up to a 10. It happens where they start performing, everything perfectly. But the thing is, they always revert back to the mean. So they go back down. And usually because they went up all the way to a 10, they were a 4 or 5, they went up to a 10. That means to average it out, they're going down to a 1 or a 0.
Oh man,
I'm serious, man. I've seen a lot of stuff in my years, man. I'm telling you. So I'm just gonna, and I know we got to get to the question. Let me just cover a few of the things for the men, because I think a lot of this stuff factors in with both, but for the men specifically, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but I cannot understate it. One of the things about polygyny that I have found to be the toughest is that it is actually very, very lonely. It's very lonely. When you are a man, like me and Hussein, we almost have had like similar tracks in our life. We're the same exact age, and like he got more kids than me, but same like house full of kids, you know what I mean? And that was my life for a long time, and then once you get in a situation where you then have to live and stay with another person 50% of your time. So then that second wife coming in, it doesn't matter how much you think, okay, this is going to be great or whatever. You could only have sex for a short amount of time. That's not what you're doing. And then the rest of that time, you're living with a stranger. You're living with someone who you actually don't know that well. And you're missing all the comforts and the things that you were used to. You're missing your kids busting in the room and having a complaint or crying or whatever, or just all the little things that you don't get, and you don't have that anymore, and you miss that, and it's very lonely. And sometimes they're thinking, well, what's wrong? Is something wrong with me? It's not really you per se, but what I'm comfortable with, what I'm known, what I love, I can't be there. So this person is actually going to take you away from stuff that you really love and enjoy. And that is something that a lot of men are not ready for. And that's one reason why the when people jump in and then they jump right back out, they get married and then they get rid of their second one, because that aspect of it. And sometimes it's not about, so much where people say, well, he's favoring the first wife. He's comfortable with that. It's not just the wife, it's the environment, it's the situation. Everything is something that's very relaxing and comfortable and normal to him, even though might have a house full of kids and it's chaos. Like people come to my house, it's like noise constantly, people running, crying, people getting hurt or whatever, but that's like, it's normal. It's like part of your life and your routine or whatever. And so when you go with that wife, and especially if it's a new wife, she doesn't have any kids, and you're just there, and like you just want to be home. And that's why sometimes subconsciously you be like, man, I'm going home or whatever. It is home for him. It's home for you. And so it's something that you have to get over. And like Hussein says all the time, you have to build up. It takes time to build to that level. Sometimes the second or third or whoever wife coming in, they're looking at, where the first wife is at, and they're wanting all of that, the house, the environment, the comfortability, and it takes time to get there. Sometimes men get impatient and they're like, well, I don't want to. So the first argument or the first dispute or the first issues, they're like, yeah, I'm out the door. I'm going back to what's comfortable. But that's one thing that you have to prepare yourself. It's very, very lonely.
I agree with you. I mean, I couldn't have worded that any better. But just to be clear, men, we still have duties and obligations. We're not going to sidestep the fact that we did bring this woman into our life, our network, and then we have to perform. We have to get to a space where things are equitable, things are fair, things are in measure. And this is a problem where a lot of men struggle. Even myself, I struggle with this, trying to get over that, because like all the different things that you said in the process of building with another human being, it is daunting. It's not rainbows and sunshines. It's daunting. This woman, she responds like this. I'm used to talking like this. Okay, this is something that I've known from a previous relationship that I don't care about or don't want to deal with. So I'm not going to deal with that right there. Like you was talking about with the kids, a lot of times people would be like, Hussein, why you got all these kids? Did it occur to anyone that I actually like kids? What I'm saying? Can I just like having children with my wife and can I like building a big family? Is that okay? Do I got to get crucified because I got X and Y and Z kids? Yeah, I like kids. So to your point, if you go into another home and it's like you said, it's not lonely per se, but it's not what you're used to. It's going to take time. And if the other person, the other woman or the other, situation, she's not, I guess, understanding that, or a little bit impatient and wants to skip past go. I use that analogy all the time. The Monopoly board, how when we would play Monopoly and then somebody get that little chess card and then they get to skip past go and they don't got to get on nobody's properties if they know exuberant amount. You're like, dang, I want that too. It's kind of like that. It's like, well, that's not realistic. That's not reality. You got to go through and trek the journey just like everyone else to get to those higher heights. Yeah. And it's going to be a journey. And it would be nice if two people could get along on the way. Two people can just get along and cooperate on the way.
It makes it easier. And this is the last thing that I'll say about this. Besides the fact that it makes you very rigid. It makes you very rigid, and your spontaneity to just kind of do things on the fly. Like sometimes you might just be doing something with the kids and they'd be like, oh, can we stay longer or whatever? You're like, yeah, cool. Like when you just got one wife or whatever, but there's always that other factor where, oh no, we can't stay. We got to get back because, it's so-and-so's time or whatever. It's really annoying when you have to, especially if people are very particular about, no, this time, this 17 minutes is 18 seconds, or, they used to, and I had to nip that in the bud. I was like, yo, listen, don't clock my time. Anybody mentioning the time, they're going to get it cut because I'm doing the best that I can, but I have these other factors. I got kids and all this stuff. So don't tell me, well, you showed up at this time. I'm aware of the time, so don't mention that to me no more. But everybody, I'm not recommending that stance for everybody. I'm just saying this is what I do because I just can't deal with it. But the last thing I will say is this. One of the worst things, y'all gonna be surprised. It's one of the worst things about it is the fact that you have an overload of sex. And you might think I'm just being real. Hey, listen, they want us to tell the truth, right? These people that want to get in polygamy, oh, how do I do it? All these brothers, they ask me all the time, man, how do I do it? And how do I do it? I say, listen, man, do you like your wife? Are you cool with that? Whatever. Don't do it for sex because you will actually get to the point. Sometimes, I'm not even kidding. Sometimes you will hate it. You will feel like you're like a mule or something, like you like literally marching off to the field to plow, because you have to do it. You can't miss a day. You're always assumed that you over there just having a grand time. So because you're over there standing on your head, you best be doing everything. Just y'all want the truth. This is the fact of the matter, and you get held to such a high standard when it's not like that. Yes, you can just chill out, watch a little show, go to sleep or whatever. It's fine. Ain't no sleeping in this situation. 2, 3, whatever. You just like it is a constant, pressure, constant pressure, and it makes you actually hate it. I'm sorry that it will take it. And so initially you're like, man, I'm chilling. Yeah. Month or two. Sometimes they don't even take that long. And then you're in a situation. And so I'm saying this really it's a public service announcement. It's a warning for the men. And it's also just a public service announcement for the women. Listen, your husband is not everywhere doing everything every time. Sometimes, it can go a long way for him to just go to sleep, or just chill out. I mean, we will do that in a heartbeat, especially, constantly. And men think, okay, you're gonna want it all the time. You will not. You will not. You'll be finding, like I said before in other shows, you'll be trying to find more ways to avoid it or to get out of it, or you'll be celebrating when you didn't have to, more so than when you do. I'm just being real with you.
That's for the women. This does not mean, oh, we're not attracted to you. They're going to be coming with all these surface level thoughts. Oh, you're not attracted to me. Oh, you're more attracted to her, blah, blah, blah. No, we need to be able to recharge our batteries, recharge our systems. And sometimes, like, I don't know about any, you brothers can correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes we just like to rest, chill, and talk. We're okay with that. We are okay with just talking and resting. Yeah.
It's so funny because in monogamy, right? Men are just like, you want to please your husband, just go have sex with him and please him, sexually or whatever, right? Once he gets in polygamy, right? The roles kind of reverse. We just want to talk. We want to cuddle. Have a nice conversation about our emotions.
How about we just cuddle?
Yeah, but that's real talk. That's real talk, and we got to get it to y'all straight.
Now we want to know what you're feeling. How'd your day go? No, let's talk about that. What was you and your girlfriend talking about?
I'll say this. So I tell my wives, because it seems like a lot of times when you get into that space, they're doing this weird competing thing where they're like, okay, she probably had sex the last time, so let me go ahead and quickly do this or do that.
Yeah.
All this little stuff. I'll be like, yo.
No, they'll try to hit you. They'll try to hit you with a sniper shot. You know what that is, right? Okay, so you got to be over there at Maghrib, right? So 30 minutes before the sunset, they try to get that way. That way, we're gonna wipe them out. That way.
So I would tell them, it's just a simple line. I married you. We're married. Inshallah, God willing, we have the rest of our lives. There's no rush here. We don't need to every day, every 2 days be going.
We put y'all on.
Yeah, we put y'all down right now.
2 words, just 2 words. 2 words. You can help manage the situation. I'm fasting. I just want to fast all the time.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
Hey, listen, man. I became a very pious man once I started. Hey, are you fasting? Yeah, I'm fasting. He got a chip under the blanket. Yeah, I'm fasting.
Not a chip. Oh my goodness. All right. Just to cut into these questions now. We have a lot of heavy anonymous questions that have been submitted, and we do appreciate y'all for sending in these questions, as we like y'all to participate, and give us things to talk about. So first off, a lady, it has to be a lady. She said, oh gosh, rolled her eyes. This femininity nonsense, what does that even mean?
Hey, we got a show coming up on that.
I'm going to just say right now. I'm sorry, sister. You're probably out back and you probably cook. I'm just going to keep it real. I mean, if that was your question, yeah, you're probably out back already. So,
femininity, if you want to know what femininity means, it means, in short, just think of it's the opposite of masculinity. Whatever a man might do in the situation, you have to be the opposite of that. right? If a man is like, I'm gonna take charge and I'm gonna be in the lead. I'm the one who opens the door. I go in first. Femininity would be your husband's gonna go in first and check the situation, and you understand that, and you would go in behind him. You wouldn't be like, and sometimes they do this ladies first thing, but I'm just saying in situations where you would think, what would a man do in this situation? Do the opposite.
Be
In
soft,
short.
be
Yeah.
tender, be agreeable. Men typically, even us here at this panel, they might think we all agree and we just, y'all just saying the same thing. Y'all have no idea the nature of a man. And when we're off this camera, oh man, we be thumping on various different topics because that's our nature. Women, be more agreeable, be more softer, be more tender. A man typically is going to be a little bit more rugged. He's going to be a little bit more this. These are feminine aspects. So when we're talking about femininity and masculinity, let's just be real. Women are attracted to masculine men with the opposite characteristics that they themselves will possess. And men are attracted to feminine women with feminine characteristics, the opposite of the hard, the rugged, the this and that. Men don't want to deal with women like that. We want to deal with feminine, soft, tender, agreeable, nurturing, cooperative women. Mm-hmm. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that, a lot of women tend to associate femininity with like submission, servitude, and they have this negative perception around those words. But it's more than that. It's something that you can actually enjoy. It's something that you are naturally designed to embody. You know what I mean? So like, don't just think, it just means I have to be a slave, or no, femininity is something that you can thrive in, when you connect deeper to yourself. So I just want to say that because I know a lot of sisters just have this negative perception about it. And you can know once you actually step into that, you can reach higher levels within yourself.
That's an excellent point. Think about it like this. Okay, so women, and I think, this is what I've come to understand. Women seem to be at war with their femininity. They seem to be at war with the essence of their own femininity. Think about it like this. Micaiah, what you just said, do you see men doing that? Do men have a problem with their masculinity? Are they at war with it? Are they struggling to come to terms with the masculine aspects of a man? No. Do they associate certain things like what you were just saying about the aspects of femininity and how women associate negative? Oh, this is slavery. This is that. Okay, let's go on the masculine.
To your point, Hussein, actually, this is so good because what I notice is that a lot of men like to hold the door open for women, mm-hmm. Whether it's me or whether I observe it from afar. So it's like men don't ever think, oh man, damn, I gotta hold this door open. Like they don't think. It's just naturally they want to. They're protectors,
Exactly.
So
we're not at war. Women seem to be at war. I don't know if society is Jedi mind trick women or what's going on. And then a lot of times women will say, we had to be masculine because there's so much feminine men. No, you don't have to be masculine. You know what I'm saying? There might be certain aspects that you might have to step into, but you do not have to build out a masculine essence because men are somehow just super duper feminine. Mm-hmm. It seems more like the women are struggling with their own femininity and that essence, and that needs to be nurtured more. I'm not saying that men don't play a part, but don't just pass the buck on to us. You know what I'm saying? Deal with some of those internal battles yourself.
Yeah. The only thing that I would say that may play a role in it is that you have a lot of men being raised by their mothers these days.
I didn't want to go there. I was thinking that. I didn't want to go there.
And one of the things that men will do is they will do almost anything for intimate access for the woman. And I see lots of men who play this feminine role and they will acquiesce and drop some of these masculine traits in hopes of getting a woman. Like they will do that. And I see that quite a bit. It's like, don't y'all realize that the masculine dudes still get the women? They still get the girl. And so it's really not, it's if they do, and a lot of times they will throw away their masculinity in hopes of getting the girl, but usually those women are using them for resources, but sometimes they don't even get to the desired goal that they want to. They never even get to third base with some of these women. So the moral of the story is be masculine, men, and women, femininity will rule the day.
I'm gonna say this, and this is going to be a little vulgar. So I'm just preparing everyone. So imagine a man being feminine inside of the bedroom. No woman, 100% of women are not going to want that. They're going to want a man that is masculine and a little bit more assertive inside of the bedroom, across the board. No woman wants that.
I have a problem with these. I haven't worked it out yet, so I'm not going to comment too much. But a lot of times when I hear these, like, a man has to be masculine and a woman has to be feminine, and then when we try to get down to like what does it actually mean to be feminine or masculine, it just becomes circle talk. Like, and there's no real clear understanding of like what it actually is people are speaking about. So like a lot of times when they go like, okay, what's being feminine? Well, it's not being masculine. Okay, well, what's being masculine? Not being feminine. You're like, okay, what the hell does that even mean? So I think I haven't worked it out yet because I don't have a clear definition.
What's your take, surface wise? What would be your take of masculinity or femininity? I feel like I think we nailed some pretty solid points down.
I mean, it is hard to to me. I felt, and I was trying to think about it. I mean, it's hard to explain. It's like something that you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree
too.
And you know what it ain't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, we more, like Hussein was saying, we more so have this problem with women because we try, like, we isolate the issue. Like, we isolate what femininity can be. Like, it's this single thing, we have such a problem with following now, which is a feminine trait because of the rise of feminism. I don't even know. Feminism? Yeah, thank you. So it's like
feminist movement.
Yeah, exactly. So now women tend today to like isolate femininity to submissiveness and taking orders. When now, like what I was trying to explain is that's not even all it is. That is a part of it because your role is to follow, his role is to lead. But that a part of it, and then there's other, nuances where you can lead and he can follow, but that's another thing. But it's like femininity is so much more beyond what we think. That again, like I agree with Jaffer that it's sometimes you don't even get to the answer. Like people don't see femininity apart from like being service to a man anymore. They don't even see femininity as something like you can embody and then live and like possess on your own. Like if you look at masculinity, its purpose isn't all for a woman. Am I making sense, or am I just talking?
They're tough concepts to and like one of the things I want to kind of throw in there, but I don't know, is like there's got to be some kind of like traditional gender roles mixed in there because you see all these like situations that makes you like, okay, well, is that feminine or masculine? Where you see like you can see situations where a woman may have what we would say like masculine traits, but she adheres to traditional gender roles, as far as like being like submissive and taking direction, being service. But there might be other traits about her that'd be like, she's tomboyish or she's like, it's very hard to put like your finger on it and be like, all right, this is what femininity is.
I agree. I agree with that, Jaffer. I think I actually like what Mubarak said too. You kind of know because it's that energy. So if a woman is giving off that feminine essence, you're going to be attracted to it, whether you believe, you understand it or not. You're like, you're going to be kind of like drawn to that. And also the same with women. If man's giving off this masculine energy. I don't like to use these energy terms. I can't come up with another word right now, but
Yeah.
she's going to naturally be inclined to be attracted to that. And
Mhm.
it is definitely something that we're not able to just pin down and nail down to the wall.
Yeah.
Because of its various different
I get really
aspects.
excited about this topic, so I'm sorry if I'm like, if I keep going on, but to be honest, like I agree with everyone's points, and like Jaffer and Hussein is saying, like for me, the way I'm seeing it and the way I see it in society is like femininity is not only like seduction or just being cute, because we've dwindled it down to that. We have men that think they can be women when they put a wig and some makeup on, you know what I mean? And so like Jaffer was saying, I've seen women who are completely like, who have that essence, like Mubarak said, when you see it, and they don't even look like the prettiest of women. And their husband loves them so much and cherishes them so much. And they're like a little on the rougher side, but they have all of those qualities to where like, it, like, oh yeah, she's feminine. She's in her role. She is, she's good in her place. So like, yeah, I don't want to keep going too much, but I can't stand that we think femininity is just makeup, and it's just so annoying. So
Makeup,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So our next question is: my current wife is a pious woman and does her Islamic duties, but she cannot have children. I can't afford 2 wives. Is it haram to divorce her? Wow.
Well, when we talk about, so for the audience, haram means like, is it against the law, like Islamic law, to divorce? So he's asking, is it against the law, Islamic law, to divorce a woman, divorce the first wife because she can't have children, because you want to have another wife that can't have children? I don't know if it's haram. I don't think it's haram, because you can divorce your wife for any reason whatsoever. It's probably not a justified reason. It's probably not good, in my opinion, I think. But that's a tough one to answer.
It's a justified reason. It's a justified reason. And it's not haram. Yeah, he can do it because it's a reason. Like he wants children. That's one of the reasons why Rasulullah told us to get married.
Yes,
but I would say, even though it is justified and it is halal for him to do, he can do it. And there's nothing wrong with him wanting to have children. But if you have a good wife, don't give her up for anything, not even for children.
That's maybe where I was going. Like, as far as like, not just like, like, not a good idea to give that up.
It's not a good idea. I mean, listen, there's no guarantees that, number one, the next wife will be able to have children. Number two, that she will be a good mother for those children, that those children won't wind up like the son of Nuh alayhi salam, who disobeyed and left Islam and did the opposite. So you're giving up a sure thing, which is someone who is good for you. If you're saying that she is a good wife and she's a good woman and you're happy with her, you just want children, don't give it up. Make it work. I can tell you several things that you can do if you just want to have children. You don't just want another wife and you don't want to like live with someone else, but you just want to have children. You can go over to various countries and marry a Muslim sister over there and pay for her, maintenance and all those things. And I'm sure there's people that will say, yeah, I'll get married and have children, and probably your maybe $500 or $1,000 a month that you'll send her for her maintenance will take care of her family, her granddaddy, her cousin, her uncle, and all of them. Might be enough to. And I'm not trying to downplay it, but I'm just saying that's an option. That's a better drastic option than for you to divorce a good woman who you're happy with just for children. So that might create some issues where then you gotta have to, some traveling and seeing and whatever. But there's plenty of women who in other countries, they're very fertile and they don't have any money. And one of the reasons why you can marry a person is for money. And they will marry you for money and have children with you, and you'll have your children, and they will be American citizens or wherever you're from. No, I'm not telling them. I'm just saying, listen, because listen, I'm just saying, listen, $1,000 to marry another woman is going to cost you more than what you would spend going overseas or to one of these countries. I'm just saying that's a better option. I just came up with that off the top of my head.
A
I'm just saying,
good wife.
a divorce.
If you have a good
your
wife,
good wife is no, don't do that.
yeah, a good wife is way more valuable than a good kid. And kids in general are just overrated. I'll just tell you that.
I agree.
They're overrated, like, you know what I'm saying? So keep on to the good wife, and again, if you really want to have kids, then we talked about was it last week we were talking about people just going to work just to go, like, to get a second wife so they could just have sex. This is actually maybe a good way, like, okay, I'm gonna go get a second job so I can afford a second wife so that we can have kids. That's something maybe you could look into too, like, as well. And also, you might want to check to make sure what is the actual source of the problem, because you might find that you divorce her to go get a wife, and then you still can't have kids. You find out you're the problem, and then you go and having kids, that good woman you left with another man. So make sure that you know the source of the problem.
That's spot on, Jaffer. Yeah. We talked about some incidents.
Yeah, they brought that up.
Or you can, or your wife can get a job. You could be like, all right, we want to have children. Your wife can get a job and work and help you, and to do it that way. Or you marry a lady and say, you know, I want to get married, but I want children, and maybe she works and help you. I mean, there's ways around it, but there's no scenario in which you should divorce your good wife.
You could find a good woman that she might be older than you, right? Depending on how old you are. I don't know how old this person is, but there's women that all they want is a man. That they don't want him to take care of her, provide for her, support. They just want a man for the emotional, physical, and other things that come with being a man. And there are women out there like that. So you can just do that work instead of just.
How successful are those relationships when a woman just wants a man just to kind of, like, you know, you do whatever? How successful?
I mean,
they're successful.
That's all you want out of it. There's 100% success rate usually. I mean, if that's all they're looking for, I mean, it usually goes bad when they realize they get married, and then all of a sudden they want more than that.
Yes, that's the problem.
That's why I was asking, because most of the time they're going to want more than that after we talked about all that, you know, honeymoon stuff wears off, and intimacy. They feel like they can talk to you
that's because men don't do their job, right? They don't do their job. The lady comes in like, yeah, you just got to show up every other week, give me my days, I don't need nothing else. Okay, let's put that in the contract. They don't put it in the contract, and, you know, whatever. But
all right. Anyway. All right. So next question is, why do you all think as brothers that having more is better than one?
Well, if we look at it logically, right, as Muslims, we know that the best thing a man can have is a good wife. So logically, the better thing to have is to have 2 good wives. And better than that is to have 3 good wives. And better than that is to have 4 good wives. So if you hit the jackpot and get 4 good wives, then, you know, you can't do any better than that. I mean, simple as that. Other reasons as far as having more, we went over the benefits last week as far as the different benefits you can have for having more than one wife. Some of the obvious ones is having more children, having a stronger family network,
I think we talk about covering women, protecting women that's out here, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, are looking for a husband, or looking to come under the umbrella of a network, you know, family network. I mean, there are some benefits for sure.
So there's a lot of benefits.
Yeah, like what about all
I am 100% against doing any marrying women to help them out and to be a good Samaritan and Captain Save lady and all that stuff, man. No, don't do it for those reasons. Don't do it, please. I am anybody that says, well, I just want to help the sister out, unless you know that this lady can help you out. Do not do it. Do not do it. And I would say, I know Jabbar says, if you have 2 good women or 3 good women, if they're all good, it's better than, you know, just getting up. I say, if you have one good one, if you have one good wife, you're happy with her and everything is good, I would say do not pursue polygyny unless you need something that You need more help. You need something like this
I
brother.
would agree with that. I'd agree.
His wife can't have children. So if he wants children and he can marry again, okay, that's a legit reason. But to just say, man, I seen sister so and so at the masjid, man, she's looking for a husband, man. I'm looking for her. Then I mean, you're a fool. That is the worst thing that you could do, is because you don't need her. You just need to have sex with someone, and if you have someone at home that can do the job. Now, sometimes a wife at home ain't, yeah, I mean, she's just not doing the job. And she's always sick, or always hurt, or always gone, or always something. But tell her you're getting married again, she's gonna be Johnny on the spot again. So just try that. They'll be like, yo, I'm about to get another wife. Guarantee you she's gonna pick up the pace. But what I'm saying is that I am coming from me, of course, they're like, this, he just trolling. No, I'm serious. One good woman is plenty enough if you can find a good one. The problem is most of them are not that good. They just
the other problem is? The other problem is because of how we are, especially, if we're Muslim and we're getting married at a younger ages and all that, we don't necessarily recognize that a lot of us, if we do have a good woman, we don't even know we have a good woman, because we're just like, oh yeah, she's all right, but I still need something else because of whatever shortcomings she may have, because everybody's gonna have their shortcomings. And they don't realize what a good woman is until they actually experience a bad woman. And then sometimes men don't realize they have a bad woman until they actually experience having a good woman. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where like your mentors come in, having a good network, and your friends being able to tell you like, no, like you should be looking at this, looking at that, especially when you're young, because we don't know everything, but we think we do, and it's tough.
All right. So next question, if the husband said to his first wife, my love for you wouldn't change, and it does, what is that? What does that mean?
How does she know it changed? His actions might have changed, but how she know his love has changed? She got a love meter or something, or he told her, "My love has gone down 2 points."
Let's rephrase the question. What that question really is saying is, if my husband said to me that his love would never change, but I feel his love has changed. What does that mean? That's really what that question is saying. You feel a certain way, and yes, you're gonna feel that because you feel like you're being shared. You feel that you're being passed over, looked over, replaced, all these different things. He doesn't do that with me that he does with her, right?
Yes, so that's a woman. That's a woman more so getting in her head. If you have a quality husband, you believe he's a quality husband, and you'll just kind of get into your own head and kind of psych your own self out, and just your mind start running 1,000,000 miles per hour, just like you said, Jaffer. Any little thing, any different thing that he does over here that he doesn't do with you is amplified, and it's made to appear that you're losing some of his love or something like this. And again, just trying to break it to you, women, we don't love like y'all think we love. We don't have these thoughts and positions like y'all have in your mind about X, Y, and Z. We're two different creatures or two different beings, and we operate a particular way. So I can almost, confidently say that that's probably all in the sister's head if she has a quality husband.
Or she could have a quality husband, or you losing, girl. You're losing. Step up the game.
That's true too. Because we didn't talk about her level or her quality. She might be like what we talked about earlier, one of those wives who's about to get sent out back. What I'm saying? And then the man goes and he gets another wife because he's not pleased with her. So yeah, that's a good point, Jaffer. Then you losing over here, and you got work to do, and you got a hill to climb.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of change. Everything's gonna change. All right, so last question. So you're all up there saying that you all think with your profile picture?
Why we got to keep getting our necks came at with these? It's always somebody in there trying to come at our neck in a question.
I don't even get this one. I don't understand.
Maybe she meant with the
man's world profile?
No, like maybe she meant like you're actually thinking with your parts.
All right, let's say the question again.
So you all are up there saying that you all think with your.
Oh, is that the stereotypical men think with their?
Yeah, that's.
I see what she's saying.
Okay. A lot of men do. I mean, what do you want us to say? A lot of men do. That's we don't all think that way. The ones that are mature, I'm sure, but we all have thought that way at some point in our lives,
Yeah. So I
especially
mean,
when we're younger.
And we're up here. We feel like we're kind of seasoned in our own rights in regards to that, and we're trying to educate people on not to think with their parts, or not to think, even with women, not to think with X, Y, and Z in mind. Think like this. So yeah, I mean, if we're guilty for that, and we're guilty. I mean, we were all in our 20s, and we was on a heater. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't mind, doing it 10 times a week or something like this, but we're older and more seasoned now, so that wouldn't be something that at our levels, no disrespect, that we would be doing. I don't think any one of us would get into a marital situation thinking with our parts. That's why we're trying to tell people not to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, well, this was a very thought-provoking episode. Today, we delved into the challenges that can arise in polygamous relationships, shedding light on the complexities and nuances that often go unspoken, right? I really appreciate the experiences of our brothers that has enriched our conversation. It is important to recognize that while polygamy can have its benefits, it also brings its challenges and requires a great deal of effort, understanding, and wisdom. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. And remember our anonymous link where you can submit all of your questions you'd like to see us answer here on future episodes. So without further ado, this is A Man's